In today's video, I'm doing a bit of a photography exercise that I love, that you can do, and if you make time for it now and again, will definitely improve your photography. Okay, I think this is my first shot of the day this morning. I have brought stuff with me to do long exposures in a bit, but as the pier's being very nicely side lit from the rising sun over this side, and it's hitting the side of the wood, I think this is probably my first shot. I'm going to take a few handhelds before I get settled down with some long exposures in a bit. But what I really like here is we've got this sand patch at the front here and almost a bit of a path leading down there to the pier. Slight bit of beach in the corner of the frame, and the sand in the front just gives a bit more context to the scene, and the light's getting even better now. So I'm going to take a few shots here. I'm just going to have the pier going straight off into the edge of the frame. I'm not normally a big fan of shots that span from one end to the other and the whole subject almost takes up the whole frame, but I think in this case it actually works quite nicely, especially given the subject is so big. You haven't really got a choice but to take up the whole frame with the subject. Just waiting for the light to change a little bit more. There's also quite a few dog walkers coming up and down the front of the beach, so if I could capture one of them underneath the pier in this same composition, that would be really cool. So normally when I go out to do photography, I either plan a route with a few different stops along the way or head somewhere quite vast and big that has lots of options. For example, a town deep in the countryside gives me options to shoot walking around the town, shoot the countryside surrounding it, and anything I might find on the country roads while I'm driving to the town or back home from the town. This is obviously a great way to approach photography. It gives you some flexibility depending on what's happening with the weather on the day, or maybe you're just not feeling the first spot, so you go off to the next one and make the most of the day. And it can give you a really high success rate for a day out of photography. But that approach also has quite a few downsides, because as you're running around trying to fit in as many photos and make the most of the photography day as you can, it also tends to take away a lot of your deep focus. You might find yourself rushing scenes because you're battling against the clock, rushing scenes because the weather's changing really fast, or maybe you just get really overwhelmed with all the options and everything you want to cram into that day of photography that you kind of end up rushing your shots. So having said all that, the photo exercise that I'm doing today is almost a great way to train yourself up in preparation for those busier photography days. So next shot here, hopefully you can hear me all right from the waves behind me. Let's take this mic off actually, and I'll talk into it like this. So next shot here, I framed the pier dead center, as in central and central, just central. And what I'm doing is I'm actually aiming to shoot this specifically for black and white, get that pure glassy look on the water, and this is gonna be, hopefully, if I can get the timing right, a super minimal shot where it's the water and the sky looking pretty white and then the pier as a nice black element in the middle. The key to this is probably actually overexposing a little bit more than you want to, so that the water and the sky is already lacking the detail, because basically what I want to do is make it look like the pier is sitting in the middle of nowhere on a white bed with a white sky. Locking that focus on the pier, and we're going 30 seconds to start off with at f13, 10 stop filter on. Let's see how that comes out, and then we can adjust the shutter accordingly depending on the first result. I always forget how long it feels when you take a 30-second or more exposure and you just kind of stood here like, wonder what I'm having for tea tonight. So that first particular one went okay, but I think the problem was the angle was kind of pushing all the wooden slats in the pier together. So what I've done is taken a fair few steps back this way to open up that angle, open up the light in between the wooden slats, a lot more of that sky shining through, which means a lot more of it's going to be contrasting the wood on top of the sky. I don't know if I've explained that very well. So I'm going to take a shot here, and I think this one's going to work a lot better. We've also got a lot more ocean and sky in the shot now because we've come much further back from the frame. So exact same settings, 30 seconds for the exposure, and let's see how this one turns out. So having said all that, the photo exercise that I'm doing today is almost a great way to train yourself up in preparation for those busier photography days. So what I do is pull up Google Maps and find something I want to photograph that I find interesting. And when I say something, I don't mean an entire town or a vast area of land. I mean something that can be considered as one single subject. And then I tell myself, right, that's it for the day. That's what I'm going to photograph, and I'm going to really work the scene and try and see how many different images I can get of that one subject. Now, the goal of this exercise is not to take the perfect photograph or to calculate the conditions or anything like that. The goal is to really explore and use your photographer's eye. And in turn, that exploring that you do almost gets stored as muscle memory that you can call upon at locations in the future, photo shoots that you go on, and other subjects that you're faced with. I'm not 100% sure about this shot, but when the sun shines through the cloud over there, it's casting a nice shadow of these wooden pillars on the sand there. So I've lined one of the wooden pillars up dead center in the middle of the gap in the pier there. And it's okay, but it's a bit awkward because the pier's coming in from one end and out the other end. But let's go ahead and take it. I'm at 4 seconds for the shutter. I have got a 10-stop filter on now because it's a bit too bright to go without the filter. And I'm having to be at f11 for that 4-second shutter. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that now. No remote, just on a 5-second timer. Just gonna wait for a wave to come, fire it away there, and see how that comes out. So I guess it would be kind of rude to not get a shot just looking straight down the pier. The only problem with this image at the minute is there's a lot less cloud on the horizon at the end of the pier, which kind of makes the back end of the shot a bit boring, but it looks like the cloud's moving around. So if I find a sort of a angle that works nicely, I can just wait for that cloud to move around and then take the shot again. This one here is quite a rogue choice, something I would never really do, to be honest, but I'm shooting straight through the pier this time, focusing with this gap bit in the middle. And then I don't know how well you can see in camera, but the wet sand there is giving us a little bit of a reflection of the pier. Light's coming back in from over there now as well. It would be amazing if someone was stood in that gap. I could go and stand in it, but you know what, should we try that? Let's try it. Let's put interval shooting on. Interval shooting will start in 5 seconds. See you in a minute. But let's see how this one came out. It works quite well, to be fair. The downside is when I got under the pier, the light disappeared a little bit, so it's quite a dark shot, but that's not always a bad thing. So the image I was talking about before on the other side of the pier, where I was going for the ghostly minimal black and white image, I think it might work better from this side. The only problem is now there's a bit of that sort of hazy glow above the pier, which looks a little bit ugly. I did take a shot from a few steps that way though, and I think it worked better than the other side. So I'm gonna fire one off here. This time we're going 20 seconds. The one on the other side was 30, I believe. And from here you get a little bit more of a look at the pipes on top of the pier. So hopefully this one comes out good. I think what I'm gonna have to do is go back to the car, grab something to eat, and come back down, and by then this tide will have gone out far enough for me to get in between that gap. But let's see how this shot comes out first of all. So if you haven't already guessed that my subject for today's challenge and this video is this beautiful old pier in the background, then something's gone terribly wrong. But anyway, this is Steatley Pier on the coast of Hartlepool. The pier has a long and rich history, but to bite-size it, the name Steatley originally comes from the Steatley Lime and Building Stone Company, who happen to be based in Nottinghamshire, which happens to be where I'm from. The pier was built in the 1960s in order to pump salty seawater back to the shore where I am here, which was originally covered in a mass array of big holding containers. The salty water would then go on to play a vital role in the production of magnesia, which was a key ingredient in the production of hard bricks, which went on to line furnaces. Some sources online do sadly say that the pier could be set for demolition in the near future, so that's kind of why I chose it for my subject today, out of fear of missing the opportunity to photograph a piece of history. But anyway, after that history ramble, let's get back to the photos. So the tide is finally out enough to get underneath the pier here where the gap is. Probably a little bit further than I wanted it, to be honest, but that's what happens when you go back to your car, have a sandwich and come back again. So that's on me. Kind of wanted a reflection or some water in this front bit, but it's kind of all disappeared. We have got this bit over here though, so maybe I can get a different, more unique angle than this one. So I'm going to come out to about 24 millimeters to bring this water into play a lot. And we're just going to go about 2 seconds for the exposure now, because it's not like we've got any heavy waves or anything coming in like that. Okay, that's not too bad. Let's move a bit closer and round this corner and see what we can do. Okay, so this frame here is quite nice. I don't do this very often. Also, I realise my head's cut off in the frame here, but I don't do this very often, but I'm actually positioning the horizon at the bottom of the frame on the lower third. Still keeping the pier in the middle. We've got a nice little angle, and now we can bring some of this water into play down here. The reason I've positioned the horizon down is because the pier is so big in the shot, similar to what you're seeing on the video screen there. So I'm going to take, again, same settings, I'm going to fire that away, 2 seconds, nothing too complicated. Let's have a look how that is. I know my subject today is the pier, but I couldn't resist this. One day you'll be loved unconditionally, probably by a dog. It is what it is. I've got to take a photo of that. There's also a really funny one that I'll show you in a second, which actually might make a really good photo, but let me take this off the tripod and get a cheeky shot of this. I guess the pier is technically still in the shot. Okay, let me show you this funny one over this side. I don't know if you can read that in the video camera, but it says toilet 750 miles and it's pointing to the ocean. I mean, it's not wrong. It's not wrong. I think here we might be able to frame this post up to be nicely in between the gap of the pier. It's actually a bit too big for the pier, but kind of want the ocean in it though, don't you, to give it some context. So maybe if we go really wide like this. Fish and chips rarely open. For all the bad humans do in the world. You gotta laugh, haven't you? This is the stuff I like to see. So obviously there's loads of great benefits to this challenge, but the main one I think is breaking predictable patterns. You may find, and I definitely find, that once I find a style of photograph that I like a technique of taking an actual photo, for some reason I default to that wherever I go, because I know that it's going to get me a result that I like, because I've done it before, I know how to do it already, so I kind of default to that. But the problem is I don't want all my photos to look the same. I don't want every single photo I take to follow the same technique. For me, it used to be the low angle, blurry foreground element and subject on the top third. And I have done that here today as well, but I don't want to be pulling that out of the bag everywhere I go or leaning on that as my one-trick pony technique, if you will. So one of the biggest benefits of this challenge is because you're exploring so much, you're kind of breaking the pattern, and you're going to remember different styles of taking photos that you really like, that, like I say, you can pull back up in the future. Successfully photographing a subject a number of different ways builds confidence as a photographer. It instills the fact that you can go out on photo shoots and kind of problem solve and come out with good photos regardless of what situations you're faced with. Plus, succeeding at a challenge just feels good, right? If you try this challenge and you go home and you've got a bunch of loads of different photos that you really like, it's just really motivating. It feels good. Not to mention the fact that you're then going to have a wide array of different photos that you can share or put together as a piece, post online, all different shots that you can tether out throughout the year that aren't just the same photo over and over again. By the way, I realised this one might be cheating a little bit because this, what even is this? I think this is like a track. I don't know, but I'm kind of cheating a bit here because this is kind of a secondary subject in the image, but the pier's still in the back, and I'm still classing this a different way to shoot the pier. So and then another great thing about this challenge is that if you're a beginner photographer and you're not all that familiar with how all the different settings work on your camera and how different settings affect the photo that you're going to take, then this challenge is amazing because you can really slow down, stay in an area for absolutely hours and just really mess around with those camera settings, fast exposures, long exposures, shooting for black and white, how to expose the light properly because it's going to change over the hours that you're there, where you need to move around in order to still get good photos with the changing conditions. It's one of the strongest little drills that you can do when you're a beginner photographer. And the funny thing is, it's technically just going out and taking photos, but you're focusing on one single subject and really working the scene, going all the way around it, looking for every single possible shot you can. And this shot right here, I don't know if you're like me, but I really like it when water on the beach collects around something and then sits really still. I don't necessarily want like crazy waves coming over this shot. I just like this, the way this water's sitting underneath the wooden bits. So there's a dog walker heading in that direction towards the pier, so I'm just going to wait around a bit and get my last shot with the person down there on the beach now that the tide is right out. I love the way he's just kind of stood there. He's giving his dog a little fuss. So obviously this subject that I've chosen to photograph today is quite a big one, a landmark if you will. You don't have to do something as big as that if you don't want. You could even just do it from home and photograph something that you've got lying around, like an old camera or something. You could go off and find just one building and just see how many unique perspectives and angles and photographs you can get of that building. The main takeaway from this is not to search for the perfect one image when you do this challenge, and more so to build up that knowledge, as I said before, because you can then bank that knowledge and use it at as many different locations in the future as you can. Having said all that, I'm starting to lose my voice because I've been talking so much today, so I'm going to wrap this video up. I hope you enjoyed and I hope you found it valuable. If you want to dive into some more photography advice, check out this video right here next, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.